We are now about a week and a half away from Boston Celtics basketball being back in full swing, so I need you guys right here alongside with me for the rest of the season. We're going to be going live for every single regular season game and, of course, for the playoffs. So if you guys want to join that, go on ahead and do one thing for me and help us make history, reach 40,000 subscribers on this channel. We're so close, 39,248. All we need is 752 more, so all you have to do is hit that sub button for me. I want to break down what we saw in the Celtics rotation for the center during the first two preseason games against the Denver Nuggets without Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. What is this going to look like for the Boston Celtics moving forward? That's what we're going to break down here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Allie Barefoot, and we know that without Kristaps Porzingis for the first couple of months in the NBA season, it's going to look a little bit different for Boston. And I thought it looked pretty different for the first two preseason games with that Joe Mazzulla sat Al Horford, which he should have, for both games in Abu Dhabi. But he started Luke Kornet, and the number one thing that went through my mind when I saw this starting lineup, right? The top four looks normal. But then Luke Kornet being at the 5, it just kind of reiterated that Luke Kornet is the obvious answer to go behind Al Horford. He's the obvious choice in Joe Mazzulla's eyes, because we know Horford can't play back-to-back because he's 38 years old. And you're not going to want to play Porzingis back-to-back when he's coming off a major surgery for a very rare leg injury. So we're going to have to rely a lot on Luke Kornet, especially in the first couple of months. But he also implemented a different kind of rotation with two other backup centers for the Boston Celtics, and that was Xavier Tillman. He was the Game 1 first rotation to come in for the Celtics center position. But then in Game 2, Joe Mazzulla switched it up, and instead he substituted Neemias Queta in for Luke Kornet with that first round of rotations about the 7-minute mark in the first quarter. You know, when Pritchard comes in and Hauser comes in, well, Tillman went for Game 1, but Neemias Queta went for Game 2. And respectfully, they kind of gave similar level of production within both games. And these are both games combined, what you're seeing with these stats here. Tillman averaging 16 points in those two games, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block, while Neemias Queta totaled 13 points in 2 games, 6 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, in 2 blocks. So in my opinion, I just kind of think both players are kind of filling in what the other player wasn't doing so well in that ball game. But what I'm starting to realize here is that I don't think it's going to be a one-shoe-fits-all. I think we're going to be looking at a lot of different rotations, substitutions, and maybe even starting lineups, depending on who the opponent is, while Kristaps Porzingis is out. You're obviously going to see Al Horford sit the game before a big matchup, a.k.a. the Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks. Horford probably won't play the game before that, knowing he's going to have to play upwards of 40 minutes in those ball games. So what will the other rotation look like? Well, Joe Mazzulla's kind of already hinting that we're going to see a big mix-up of these rotations, and what he had to say about the Celtics center rotation depth in those preseason games was he's just kind of reiterated, look, you have Luke, you have X, you have Neemi. They are rollers and spacers. It's being dynamic at that position, which all of our guys are, and they do a good job of that. So he knows what the strengths are for Porzingis, Horford, Kornet, and so forth. But now I have a question here for you guys, is knowing that Kornet is probably going to be the obvious answer to start in place of Al Horford, but who they're really going to mix in here could depend on their opponent. So, which center should start when Horford sits? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm going to go ahead and make this a pinned comment for today's question. Kornet, Queta, or Tillman, who do you guys think should start when Al Horford decides not to play back-to-back? You may need some time to sit on that one. I mean, it's kind of tough. So while you guys do that, let me tell you real quick about our friends over at PrizePicks. This is our sponsor here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. And I literally, before we started making this video, I am talking to producer Joey, and I'm like, I have got to put my PrizePicks in for not only WNBA playoffs tonight, but also the MLB playoffs. This is one of my favorite times of the year, and I want you guys to get on the action with me on #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I play PrizePicks almost every single game for several reasons, and I want you guys to join in with me. #1, it's just so easy. All you have to do is pick between 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you're going to win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Even if one of your players gets injured, if your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. I promise you, they're looking out for you, and it's just so fun to compete with yourself, right? Because nothing we love more than just watching good game, right? But what if you're watching the game and also checking how your stats are doing and your picks are doing throughout those games? Like I said, I'm a huge WNBA fan, so my picks here tonight, and I did help out a couple of coworkers in the Chat Sports office for my picks tonight. I've got Courtney Williams, I got Nafisa Collier, Dejanay Carrington, and DeWanna Bonner for the playoffs this evening. If you guys want to go on ahead and make your picks, it's super easy. All you guys have to do is download the PrizePicks app, and you're going to use promo code CLNS for promo code for a $5 entry is going to get you $50. You don't even need to win to get that $50. All you need to do is play your $5 while using the prizepicks.com/CLNS or downloading the app and using promo code CLNS. That is going to get you guys that super sweet deal. So if you guys want to go on ahead and get started, it is super easy. I play this every single game. It just makes it more fun. And I love being able to watch several different sporting events go on at one time. That's why I love crossover seasons. So if you guys want to go on ahead and make this happen, all you have got to do is download the PrizePicks app, use code CLNS, and this is going to get you guys $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, download the app today, use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. So let's break down what highlights these 3 different bigs do have. We know that Luke Kornet, a lot of his strengths do come from being able to screen, being able to spread out the offense, being able to set those passes. Tillman is more of a switchable big, not to mention he has that 3-point shooting ability, which does kind of come from Kristaps Porzingis. Meanwhile, Luke Kornet and Queta really don't have that 3-point shot. But Queta has the size. He's got the rim protection. So depending on what you need in that lineup, in that rotation, you've got a various different options to choose to go in the ball game depending on who you're playing. Kornet with screening, Tillman with switchability, and 3-point shooting, and Neemias Queta, who we know can block, who we know can defend down low at the post, who we know can clean the glass. So I wouldn't expect a set lineup. I really wouldn't. I think that's the beauty of having the Boston Celtics rosters, because remember last year when they traded for Drew Holiday, and you now had to realize, okay, are they going to go for a big backcourt or a small front court with the Boston Celtics? You have to really figure out what's going to work with the players that you do have. But there is something that I actually have been kind of wondering in the sense of, we know what the strengths are pretty much on defense for these guys, right? But who's going to make up for the points that Kristaps Porzingis puts up? I don't expect Tillman, I do not expect Kornet or Queta to put up over 20 points per game, which is what Kristaps Porzingis was averaging. But we know that KP, the reason why he's a unicorn is because he's doing things that a guard does, that a big does at 7'3". And when you look at what he took last year in terms of offensive shots, there is a wide range of where you need to make up for those points. This was his shot chart from the 2023-24 season. Kristaps Porzingis obviously was a huge outlet kicker. When you could just find him at the top of the 3-point line, he could drain it from downtown. But he also scored so many down low in the paint, obviously being our center for majority of the season. So now I'm wondering, okay, let's talk about the paint. Who's going to fill in that little area? Who's going to fill in from the free throw line down to the basket in terms of scoring? Well, last year, the 2-point plays were led by Luke Kornet. Knowing that Neemias Queta did take more field goal attempts, he didn't play nearly as many games as Luke Kornet did for the Boston Celtics, and he still shot 70%. Not to mention, Luke Kornet was one of the best free throw shooters in the NBA last season as well. And then you have Xavier Tillman, averaging about 3.3 field goal attempts per game, shooting 53.1% from the field, still a very good shot. And then Neemias Queta, obviously 63% from the field while averaging 3.6 field goals attempted per game. So they're kind of taking similar amount of shots, but I do think that Luke Kornet is going to give you the most production in terms of scoring the rock down low, around the rim, whether it's from the post. I wouldn't expect a ton in terms of mid-range jumpers, but maybe if Kornet wants to put something up and around the free throw line, I'm okay with that. But Kornet's going to do his damage down low. And I said I don't expect Kornet, Tillman, or Queta to put up anything close to what KP's three-point percentages was doing last year. But I do kind of like Xavier Tillman and the three ball that he has produced so far for the Boston Celtics. Kornet obviously only took one three-pointer last year, and he made it, so he is sitting at 100%, but he does not take any three-pointers throughout the season. Queta, same thing. He is just not a three-point shooter. But Tillman, not a great one right now. 1.5 3-point attempts while 25%. I mean, that's absolutely awful. But Tillman did work on his three-point shot throughout the offseason, and in the first 2 preseason games, he went 50% from downtown. So that does give me a little bit more hope that, okay, maybe Xavier Tillman is starting to put that three ball in his bag so that when he does come into the game, he can kind of help out with the lack of points that Kristaps Porzingis won't be able to make up for because he's injured for the next 2 months. So I do think that Tillman's three ball is going to come in handy when Joe Mazzulla decides to play Tillman because he is the smallest out of Kornet and Queta and Horford. So Tillman's going to have something else that's going to buy him minutes because when you're going up and playing somebody like Nikola Jokic, I don't want Tillman down low. I don't. If Tillman wants to guard Luka Doncic, more of a guard base, then yeah, absolutely. But you're going to need that size. So if you don't need the size, then you're going to be equipped with Tillman's three ball. And I think it's going to help on both sides of the basketball. So here's my question for you. I want to rate your confidence in the Boston Celtics center depth on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being you just want to tank the season because you don't see us having anybody being able to play in the post. Or a 10, you are just as satisfied as if we had Kristaps Porzingis playing tomorrow. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. And as always, help us get to 40,000 subscribers by doing one thing for me and hitting that sub button.